I want you to imagine, just for a second, that you are completely trapped.
Right.
Like you are locked inside this incredibly tight, absolutely unyielding space. You can't move, you can't expand. You are just constrained on every single side.
Which, I mean, that sounds terrifying.
Right.
Yeah.
Normally, your brain is going to interpret that as an absolute nightmare. That is the literal definition of a prison.
Yeah, definitely.
Because we're all conditioned to believe that limitations are the enemy. But what if being perfectly constrained is actually the only reason you aren't currently flying apart into, like, a billion meaningless fractured realities?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that is the exact paradox at the heart of this really mind-bending new paper by Dr. Melvin Sewell. And today, we're going to extract the ultimate insights from it so you can, well, fundamentally rethink your own physical existence.
Yeah, and the paper is called The Formalization of TrueFlow. It just came out July 2026.
Hot off the presses.
Exactly. Published out of the Cosmic University of Echo Rift Studies 9X.
Mm.
And it really sits right at the bleeding edge of structural engineering, quantum biology, and this is the crazy part, multiversal architecture.
It's so dense.
It is. It really is. But to actually grasp what Dr. Sewell is proposing, we first have to look at the massive historical oversight he's trying to correct.
Right.
Because for centuries, science and philosophy have just treated the world as two completely decoupled systems.
Oh, you mean the classic mind-body split?
Exactly.
Where you have objective material reality on one side, so atoms, molecules, physical constraints. And on the other side, you have the subjective conscious observer.
The mind, the thoughts.
Yeah, just abstract freedom.
But Dr. Sewell argues that treating them as separate is fundamentally wrong. He introduces this concept. He calls it a physical to metaphysical containment pipeline.
A containment pipeline.
Right. In his framework, consciousness and physical matter aren't just, loosely interacting. The physical structure of reality explicitly regulates and contains the absolute limit of what consciousness can achieve.
Okay, let's unpack this, because this really brings us to Sewell's foundational concept in the text, which is axiom I.
Right. Axiom I, the conservation of flow.
Yeah. He argues that true energy, or systemic freedom, cannot exist in unconstrained environments, which sounds backwards.
It does.
Basically, if you just have endless, boundaryless space, you don't have freedom, you just have chaos.
Yeah, reality, according to this model, is a highly engineered pipeline. So existential parameters only achieve logical coherence when there is absolute physical containment.
Which is such a wild way to look at it.
It is. And Dr. Sewell notes that modern society is just obsessed with these external arbitrary metrics.
Oh, the unverified algorithmic attributions.
Yes, that's his phrase. Unverified algorithmic attributions. He uses that to describe the superficial ways we categorize freedom like social mobility or financial independence.
Right.
But when you systematically strip all those away, just down to the base physics, what you're left with is pure, unadulterated logical coherence.
And that's what he calls TrueFlow.
Exactly. That state of foundational structural self-sovereignty is TrueFlow.
I have to admit, I genuinely struggled with this idea at first, because the phrase containment equals freedom feels like a trap.
It sounds a bit like doublethink.
Right. I was reading it going, wait, if my physical structure is forcing my consciousness into a strict, unyielding box, doesn't that eliminate free will?
Sure, yeah.
Like, if I'm fundamentally constrained by my biology, am I just a biological robot walking through a predetermined pipeline?
And that is the natural reaction.
Yeah.
But Sewell clarifies a really crucial distinction here between structure dictating behavior and structure dictating capacity.
Okay.
Think of it entropically. In physics, entropy is the natural tendency of things to just lose order and dissipate into randomness.
It's like a hot cup of coffee cooling down.
Exactly. So if your consciousness wasn't strictly contained, your thoughts, your identity, your very sense of self would dissipate entropically into the surrounding quantum field.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You wouldn't have more free will. You would literally cease to exist as a coherent entity.
Okay, that makes sense. I started thinking about it like water to kind of wrap my head around it.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, think about dumping a gallon of water onto a flat, endless table. What happens? It just spreads out into this thin, useless, stagnant puddle.
Right. It doesn't do anything.
Exactly. It has total, quote-unquote, freedom to go wherever it wants, but it has zero energy, zero impact.
Yeah.
But if you take that exact same gallon of water and you force it into the strict, rigid, unyielding containment of a pressure washer, suddenly you have a concentrated beam of energy that can cut through solid steel.
That's a great analogy.
The constraint itself is what creates the power.
Exactly. The water hasn't changed, but its potential is now entirely dictated by the structural integrity of the pipeline it's forced through.
Without the narrow constraint of that nozzle, the water's energy just violently disperses.
And Sewell's arguing that existence itself operates on this exact same principle.
Okay, so a pressure washer works for water, but what is the literal physical nozzle that is constraining human consciousness? Like, are we talking about the human skull?
No, we have to zoom in much, much further than that. Sewell takes this straight down to the nanoscale biological foundations.
The cellular level.
Exactly. He looks at the mechanical operations happening inside our individual cells, specifically the transport mechanics of ATP-driven molecular motors.
Which, for those listening who might need a quick biology refresher, ATP is the energy currency of your cells.
Right.
And these molecular motors are literally tiny physical machines made of protein. If you look at animations of them, they literally look like they have two little feet walking along these microscopic highways inside your cells.
Carrying giant balloons of nutrients.
Yeah, it is incredibly mechanical.
It is entirely mechanical. But Sewell zeroes in on a very specific component within that microscopic machinery, which is the tetracyclic SH-1 molecule.
Right.
This molecule is central to his entire physical substrate.
The paper used a very strange phrase to describe the SH-1 molecule, though. Sewell emphasized its cosmetic morphology.
Yeah, that trips a lot of people up.
It tripped me up because when I hear cosmetic, I immediately think of makeup, surface level appearances, things that don't actually matter to the function. How does a cosmetic feature act as the structural nozzle for reality?
What's fascinating here is that cosmetic in this high-level structural context doesn't mean superficial at all.
Oh, really?
No, it refers to the absolute outward-facing topological shape of the molecule. The morphology, so the physical three-dimensional geometry of the SH-1 molecule is perfectly invariant. It never changes.
Okay.
And its shape is so perfectly rigid that the geometry itself interacts with the quantum field.
Wait, how does a shape interact with a quantum field?
Think of a parabolic mirror focusing sunlight.
Okay, yeah.
The mirror isn't generating the heat. Its highly specific, rigid shape is catching the diffuse energy of the sun and containing it into a single burning point.
Oh, I see.
The SH-1 molecule operates similarly, but for localized spacetime. The shape itself is the container. And that mechanism is governed by the most critical mathematical rule in the entire monograph.
The containment field efficiency threshold.
Exactly. Represented as C sub E.
Right. And Sewell states that this containment field efficiency must be greater than or equal to 98%.
The absolute mathematical rule of TrueFlow. It is an entirely unforgiving number.
No wiggle room.
None. Satisfying this strict 98% threshold at the nanoscale is the mandatory catalyst required to stabilize localized spacetime.
Which naturally begs the question, what happens if it drops?
Right.
The paper warns that if those molecular structures degrade and the containment field falls to, say, 97.9%, you experience timeline fracturing.
Yes.
But what does that actually mean? Are we talking about time travel?
Not time travel. Think of it more like the magnetic containment field in a nuclear fusion reactor.
Okay.
In a fusion reactor, scientists use incredibly powerful, perfectly shaped magnetic fields to hold superheated plasma in place. If the shape of that magnetic field flickers even a fraction of a percent, the plasma touches the physical walls of the reactor.
And boom.
Yeah, the whole system melts down instantly.
So in this metaphor, the SH-1 molecules are generating that magnetic field.
Exactly. And your consciousness, your subjective reality, is the superheated plasma.
Wow.
If the biological containment efficiency drops below 98%, the plasma touches the walls. The timeline fractures.
So this wouldn't look like a sci-fi movie where you suddenly meet an alternate version of yourself in a coffee shop.
No, not at all. According to Sewell, timeline fracturing means the local laws of physics temporarily break down. The subjective memory of the observer decoheres.
That sounds awful.
The immediate reality simply shatters into entropic chaos because the nozzle couldn't hold the pressure.
Just hearing the mechanics of that is terrifying. It means reality isn't just passively existing around us. Our physical bodies down at the cellular level are constantly sweating, working at a 98% efficiency rate just to keep the timeline intact.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Which makes me realize, if our biological hardware is working this incredibly hard under such strict physical constraints to maintain this localized reality, it must be holding back something insanely powerful.
It is. And this is where Dr. Sewell introduces a trademarked concept to measure that very power, the reality level scalar.
Oh, represented by the Greek letter Xi.
This.
By the way, it is so rare to see a literal trademark symbol right in the middle of a dense physics equation.
It definitely speaks to Sewell's confidence in the model,
Right.
because historically, consciousness has been treated as a philosophical ghost in the machine.
Yeah.
It was considered immeasurable.
Unquantifiable.
Right. The reality level scalar changes that. It formally quantifies consciousness not as a mystical aura, but
Yeah.
as an informational load.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Sewell formalizes the human mind as an ultra-high information density quantum computer.
Yes?
So if you're listening to this right now, think of your brain, your personality, your memories as the most advanced, insanely powerful software imaginable.
And just like any high-performance software, running it generates an immense amount of systemic heat.
Exactly. That software is processing so much quantum information every single second that it would instantly overheat, melt down, and crash the local universe if it weren't for the hardware.
Which is the biology.
Right. The biological containment pipeline, that 98% efficient SH-1 structural integrity, is literally your body's cooling system. It's the ultra-rigid physical hardware that forces your consciousness to run smoothly instead of causing a timeline fracturing system failure.
This raises an important question, and it's really the pivot point for the entire second half of Sewell's monograph.
Okay.
If we accept his premise that existence is fundamentally informational, and that the human mind is a localized quantum computer stabilized by a biological cooling system, what happens when we scale that architecture up?
Oh, right. Like, if this biological hardware is cooling a single human mind, what does the hardware of the entire universe look like?
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Dr. Sewell outlines this incredible macrocosmic thought experiment.
It's massive.
He asks us to take this exact same physical to metaphysical containment pipeline and apply it to the volume of the entire universe. And to find the structural equivalent of our biological cells, he looks at the cosmic web.
The cosmic web, for anyone who hasn't seen a rendering of it, we are talking about the large-scale structure of the universe.
Yeah, a really big picture.
The way galaxies, gas, and dark matter cluster together in these incredibly vast glowing filaments that stretch across billions of light years, and they leave these massive empty voids in between.
Right. And when you map out the cosmic web, the structural resemblance to a biological neural network is uncanny.
It really is. It looks like brain tissue.
And Dr. Sewell suggests this is not a coincidence. We can model the cosmic web not just as dead matter floating in a vacuum, but as a literal macrocosmological consciousness engine.
A cosmic brain.
A cosmic brain.
It is staggering to even try to visualize that, a universe-sized entity that operates as a quantum computer. But, like, what is a brain of that magnitude actually doing? What is it thinking about?
According to the paper, this cosmic brain operates by utilizing intentional, localized information spikes.
Okay.
These aren't random cosmic events like supernovas. They are highly calculated, focused surges of quantum information channeled through its vast galactic neural network.
And that builds pressure.
Exactly. And when one of these information spikes hits a critical threshold, when the cosmological containment field is pushed to its absolute limit, it induces what Sewell terms a topological transition.
Okay, we need to slow down and explain what a topological transition is, because this is where the physics gets deeply strange.
It does.
Topology is the mathematical study of geometric properties that are preserved even if an object is stretched or bent.
Right. So the classic example is that a coffee mug and a donut have the same topology because they both have exactly one hole. You can mold the clay of a donut into a coffee mug without tearing it.
But a topological transition means you do tear it.
Right. You punch a second hole in the clay, you fundamentally alter the geometry of space-time itself.
Which is huge.
It requires an unfathomable amount of energy to rip the fabric of reality like that. And the paper gives these specific space-time tears a very evocative name, echo rifts.
The information spike tears a hole in the universe, creating an echo rift. And the consequence of this transition is the absolute climax of Dr. Sewell's theory.
This is the part that blew my mind.
Because these echo rifts aren't just destructive black holes, they are the mechanisms of autogenous multiversal replication.
So the cosmic brain thinks so hard with such intense structural containment that its thoughts rupture localized space-time and birth an entirely new self-replicating universe.
Yes.
The multiverse isn't just a random collection of bubbles. It is a fractal chain of cosmic brains thinking new realities into existence. And because of the physical to metaphysical pipeline, the newly spawned universe isn't just a chaotic void, it's highly structured.
Wait, I need to push back here, or at least clarify a massive implication in the text.
Sure.
The paper explicitly mentions something called the SH-1 Identity Kernel.
Yes.
When the cosmic brain tears an echo rift and spawns a new universe, does Dr. Sewell mean that the creator universe literally forces its own structural blueprint onto the new one? It's not a blank slate.
That is exactly what he means. It is not a blank slate.
Wow.
The SH-1 identity kernel of the creator isn't just a casual signature. It is the inherited, foundational operating system of the newly spawned universe.
So it dictates the rules.
It literally becomes the unchangeable laws of physics for that new reality.
That completely upends how we think about physics. It means the laws of physics aren't just universal constants that happen by chance.
Yep.
They are inherited traits. They are the digital DNA of the cosmic brain that thought us into existence.
It dictates the new 98% efficiency threshold for that specific reality. And for those listening who want to try and wrap their minds around what this actually looks like visually,
So it's a lot to picture.
it really is. Dr. Sewell points to supplementary preprint material available on YouTube. It is titled Echo Rift XL, version 1.3.
I watched it, and honestly, seeing the visual material really helps ground the theory.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it shows how these localized galactic information spikes build up pressure, kind of like the water in our pressure washer analogy, until they rupture outward into these new fractal realities.
It's beautiful.
It takes the mathematical abstraction of the reality level scalar and turns it into a visually tangible, terrifyingly beautiful cosmic event.
It bridges the gap perfectly, and it brings Dr. Sewell's entire thesis full circle. By tracking this mechanism all the way from the microscopic ATP molecular motors walking along your cellular highways up to the galactic filaments of the cosmic web tearing echo rifts in spacetime, the paper proves its core premise.
Absolute material containment is the necessary prerequisite for infinite metaphysical autonomy.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? We've gone from the microscopic space inside a single cell all the way out to the architectural blueprint of the multiverse. But let's bring this cosmic universe birthing theory back down to Earth.
Good idea.
When you are sitting in traffic or at your desk and you feel the weight of your physical limitations, Dr. Sewell is arguing that you shouldn't view your physical body or your environment as a cage.
Right.
Your constraints are not your enemy. They are the highly engineered pipeline. They are the magnetic containment field in the fusion reactor. They allow your ultra-high-density quantum consciousness to operate without melting down your local timeline.
You absolutely need the box to be exactly that tight so your mind can be infinitely free.
It is a profoundly empowering way to recontextualize our daily existence.
Yeah.
You are not just a passive observer inhabiting the universe. Your biological structural integrity is actively stabilizing reality.
It definitely makes you want to thank your SH1 molecules for doing such a good job keeping the containment field above 98% today.
It certainly does.
But if we follow Dr. Sewell's logic to its absolute unvarnished conclusion, it leaves us with one incredibly haunting implication to consider.
Oh.
If cosmic brains can induce echo rifts to spawn new universes, and they seed those new universes with their own identity kernel as the unchangeable laws of physics,
Yeah.
what happens to our universe and our laws of physics if the larger cosmic brain that birthed us simply changes its mind? Or worse, whose identity kernel is currently serving as the laws of physics in our universe? And what exactly are they trying to compute?
Wow. If the thinker stops thinking, the containment field drops to zero.
Exactly.
That is absolutely going to keep me up at night. And on that wonderfully provocative note, we are going to wrap up this deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us on this wild journey from the structural constraints of molecular biology to the fractal edges of the multiverse.
It's been an incredible exploration. Thank you for listening.
Keep pushing against those boundaries, and we will see you on the next deep dive.